It's another episode of the Eternal Athletes podcast. We are here to empower athletes to glorify Christ with their game and pursue a life with Him for eternity. We're your hosts, Ryan and Aaron. We have a really special guest here on today's episode. You guys are in for a treat here. So she is a sophomore at Syracuse University, D1 Syracuse. She's a sophomore up there. Has played soccer, fell in love with soccer from a young age, but she played a lot of sports growing up as well. That morphed her into, being the great athlete that she is. What's even more impressive, though, aside from, her work on the field, is her work off the field. She does lead FCA at Syracuse University, which is pretty cool as a sophomore, which just shows that it doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is your heart to serve the Lord. And she raised her hand, and she's doing what she can for the Lord to serve Him during FCA there. And they have over like 100 people every Monday that come up for their meetings and everything to worship the Lord. So excited to dive into today's episode. Welcome to the podcast, Anna Croyle. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
For sure.
We're excited. So I know, Ryan
too.
mentioned in the intro there all about like soccer, D1 soccer, Syracuse, big deal. FCA, I'm sure it's huge on a big campus like that you get to lead. But I love to kind of start maybe from a little bit in the beginning, as far as I know, you got brothers that you played sports with growing up, and obviously very strong in your faith. I'm curious when it started for you that you realized that you could intertwine the two. Meaning, like, maybe you started realizing I can pray with my team, or I can use my influence as an athlete to help spread the message or glorify Christ. I know that happens at all different ages for all different people, but if you could maybe kind of walk us through your story as a young athlete growing in your faith.
Yeah, definitely. My testimony is not one of those like drastic change ones. It's a very gradual story. But I was very fortunate enough to be raised in a family that went to church every Sunday, knew the Lord. We all went together. Like you said, I have three brothers, so that was always great. But growing up, I played a bunch of sports with them, really competitive in the driveway in the backyard. But I wouldn't say it's till high school that I even like took further steps in my faith, as well as my sport. Um, I would write like AO1 on my wrist every game, and I would mean it then, but now looking back, it's seeing how much like my faith has grown since then. Like it is crazy to think like, yes, I was like playing for the Lord, but I didn't really know what that meant. So I wouldn't say it's until like probably my senior year of high school and then into college where I felt like my faith was fully my own and I had the heart posture of going out and playing for the Lord rather than for like the stats or anything like that. So yeah, later high school into college, I'd say is when I began intertwining a little bit.
I love that. And for those who don't know, AO1, audience of one. Listen, there might
Yeah,
be some old
sorry.
people listening to this that so clarifying for the boomers like me, which I think is really cool because I think that's a great way for the things to start though, because you do. I mean, we're not really until we face struggles or grow. You know what I mean? That's when we start seeking the Lord more, and that doesn't happen till later in life. A lot of times, especially if you have a good stable home that you are raised in. So I think that is really cool. Just like even just having that on your wrist, and like you just said, like you might have it written on your wrist, but you are still playing for stats, and that's part of being an athlete. That's part of being a competitor. That's part of having three brothers that you want to beat all the time. You know what I mean? So that's part of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think once you start realizing what that truly means and what matters at the end of the day, and that can come at all various times throughout our career. I am curious with your three brothers playing basketball, the driveway, good Christian family. Man, there had to be some fights though. There had to be some
Oh,
words
definitely.
exchanged, some physical brutality going on out there.
Crazy,
There had to
Aaron.
be some like
For sure. There was definitely times where when I was younger, I'd go inside crying because they're being mean or things like that. And they would be the first to tell you that they're the reason why I'm playing soccer now. They'll take some of
Oh,
the credit for it, which I will give them for sure.
yeah.
I love that. That's good. So, are your brothers, are they pretty strong in their faith playing sports as well? Is that something you guys kind of bond over together? Or?
Some of them are, a
Mhm.
few aren't. It's interesting to see like the different paths that we've all taken.
Mhm.
Um, I do think that my parents did a really great job of, like, allowing us to, like, make our faith our own.
Mhm.
So that's something that we still work through, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's good overall.
absolutely. I love that.
What do you think? So that's great. Definitely want to, keep on the sports aspect, but the upbringing I think is, really unique in a lot of sense too, and want to dive into because I think that, people relate on different levels, right? You mentioned you don't have that drastic, like, crazy epiphany moment, right? Um, it was more gradual. So what did that more so look like? You mentioned like church on Sundays and just kind of sprinkling it in maybe like a Wednesday night throughout the week. I guess what did that look like? A little bit more faith growing up for you.
Yeah, so I'd say the thing that kind of helped it, like, skyrocket would be getting involved in Young Life in high school. So I started going to that was, like, every Monday, and then it would be, like, Campaigners, it's called, with just, like, a Bible study, on Sundays as well as church. And for a while, that was kind of it. I was in community with people. I was helping lead in Young Life, with, getting other people there, and I think looking back at that now, it's really cool because I loved our area director, and he did such a good job, and he kinda helped me to, like, when I was, like, a captain of the team on the soccer team, he was like, "Listen, like, you have a great opportunity to, like, invite some of these girls into this space." And looking back, I think that has helped me a lot to be, like, more of in, like, the gospel sharing mindset, I guess, if that's the way to
Mhm.
say it. Um,
Sure.
but, yeah, I would say that Young Life really helped me, gain community and, like, kind of see that going to church and having a relationship with the Lord isn't like a set of rules, and it is more like relationship minded, and like having that personal relationship with him is something that I didn't really like, it didn't click in my head until I got involved in Young Life. And
Mhm.
then once I hit college, I got involved in what's called I Am Second, if you've ever heard of that. But
Uh-huh.
it's a organization for college athletes, and they help you learn discipleship tools and tools of how to share the gospel. And again, that kind of really rewired my mind to like faith being like a purpose, and like our purpose here is to like share the good news and share the gospel. And as well as obviously having a personal relationship with the Lord. But I think it was like honestly through those organizations, as well as like reading my Bible more and things like that, that kind of
Yeah.
helped like reframe what like religion was in my mind.
For sure. And then, so curious because it does sound like you have that initiative, taking initiative, getting plugged in, which is really admirable, in a lot of ways, especially for a high schooler, even when you were going to Young Life, like you were mentioning. Was there a particular like role model or someone that maybe prompted you to get plugged in or stay plugged in, or did you maybe feel like it was like, you just felt the calling more so, or was there someone you really looked up to and was kinda, like, dragging you to stuff to start?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think, first of all, it's just the Lord being faithful and like showing me that that is like the path to take. A lot of people don't have that, so I'm very grateful for that. Um, when I think about how I got involved with the Young Life first, it was like getting invited to camp, and it was the most random thing ever. I was like friendly with some of the girls that had gone, but like not like super close. And I just got like a random text in a group chat that was like, "Anna, you should come to Young Life camp." And I don't like, it was a long time ago. I don't really remember like where I was, but I was just like, "Okay." So like I
Mhm.
just like went. And it didn't like take that much convincing or anything. But then once I got involved, I got really close with some of the girls who, and I guess that they really helped shape
Yeah.
who I was and continuing to go back. So I guess the people in there
Yeah.
Some
really helped
positive
with
peer
that.
pressure.
For sure. I
Yeah.
think that's amazing, and wanna dive into that for a second because I think, something as small as that individual maybe didn't think, what the ripple effect could be, 3 years later, 4 years later from them just shooting you a simple text, but what if they didn't, A lot of times, we might not think we're doing people, any favors or think what's gonna happen 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, or the impact it might have just sending them a simple text, "Hey, come to Young Life. Hey, come to church. Hey, come to this camp." Um, it could be over, like, I don't want to say selfish reasons. Like, I just want someone else to go with me so I don't feel as lonely, right? So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? I think, you know, a lot of high schoolers, for example, need to stick together and kind of have that unity. But I think for deeper reasons, I think that, you know, for listeners, if you are going to any kind of camps, shoot that text out, you know, make that extra call, invite that extra
Definitely.
person. Anna was one of those individuals. And you never know the ripple effect that it can have down the line, and can create a lot more FCA presidents maybe in the future. So, so that part's great. So, um, great upbringing, getting plugged in, remaining in your faith. How would you say maybe faith changed high school to college, right? You know, you're, you know, a sophomore now, so, you know, hasn't been a crazy amount of time, you know, less than 2 years. What's the main difference you're seeing, faith wise between high school and college? Anything rocking the boat a little bit, or are you just, you know, kind of staying steady, running the race?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was going through the recruiting process and stuff, would say that I wish that like my faith played more of a factor of like where I was choosing to go, but I wasn't really in that mindset of like, oh, like my faith is like my everything, like let me choose based on that. I would say that I probably chose mainly because of soccer. But then once I got here, my faith grew more than I guess would have expected. And it was hard for a while there to be at a school like Syracuse, which is a great school, obviously, I love it here, but it is, like, very secular, and, like, it's not, um, it's, like, not rooted in Christianity or anything like that, and I think for a while I struggled with, like, finding my community in that or, like, feeling like I'm, like, the weird one, you know? But I will say that, like, through that, I think the Lord has been so good and showed me how or allowed me to see that, like, my identity is in so much more than that, or my purpose is in so much more than that, and I have such a good opportunity here to share the gospel, where if I was in high school and chose to go to, like, a Christian school, which would have been incredible as well, I might not have all those people around me who, like, need to hear the good news. So,
Mhm.
I guess, like, it is a struggle to not always be in, like, community. I do have my group here now that has been great, but I just have to reframe my mind of the opportunity that I have instead.
Yeah. That's
For sure, and that's gonna be, the challenge of, you know, the balancing act of, like, being in this world, but not
Mhm.
kinda thing,
Yeah.
you know, you can't avoid, obviously, the secularism, it's gonna happen, and we know it'll always be around, you know, in a fallen
Is
what
that a word?
maybe I just
Okay.
made
It
it one,
can
I
be.
guess.
We don't know what that meant. Okay.
Sure.
Roll with it.
Um, um, uh, where was I going with that?
Sorry, sorry.
No.
Just how that's always gonna be there,
Oh yeah, it's
so
always going to be around in a, you know, a fallen world, right? You know, a little analogy is like, you know, one foot's on the dock. Imagine like a little rowboat, right? You have one foot on the dock and one foot in the boat, and you're just kind of like balancing between the two, right? And you know, the dock is Christ, the foundation, and you know, he's you know, the rock that keeps you steady. And the college, you know, for example, in this case, is the shaky boat, and you're trying to bridge that gap, and the whole goal is to try to make that boat a little steadier, right? And bring Christ the steadiness a little bit more to that boat. So,
yeah.
um,
Didn't love that.
So
yeah,
well, yeah, no,
yeah,
well, I was thinking, obviously, yes, we've heard that, often from other collegiate athletes that are at larger D1 schools that relate to what you just said, have said kind of similar things where they came from backgrounds and they showed up on a big college campus and it was like, whoa, this is different. And where are my people and everything like that. But those people obviously, have the opportunity, like you just mentioned, to make the biggest impact into um I like talking big, like a big impact, but even if it's just one person, we just never know
Yeah.
mhm.
what stems from that. So I am curious, like, what would be your advice too? Because, some other student athletes listening to this that maybe are high school going through a recruiting process, that maybe are going to be going to larger schools than what they're accustomed to. What would you tell them as far as like how does a new freshman go about finding that? Are there groups that they should look for when they get to campus? Like, how do they navigate finding their people and letting them know how, like, it's okay even if it takes a minute to find your people, but you'll find them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I think I was lucky enough here where it is such a big school that there are a lot of like organizations to get involved in. As soon as I got on campus, I got plugged into Young Life College, which was great. And I met some people through that who also helped introduce me to Salt Company on campus. And then obviously I had FCA and my I Am Second people as well. So I was really blessed to be able to be involved in so many different organizations. But the biggest thing I would say is like really try to stay your course, and stay rooted and use Jesus as your firm foundation. And ultimately, like people might have that curiosity of like, oh, why are they so different? And that might be something that draws them to you into the faith. And so like even when like those trials come and you might feel lonely, it's easier said than done, but, like, encourage them to rely on the Lord, spend time in the Word. There's a lot of passages in the Bible that say how you will be persecuted or feel like an outsider, for the faith, so trying to rely on those and if as much as you can, try to find some sort of community to help you stay grounded.
Absolutely. What happens when because okay, when you're at a big school like this, there's lots of opportunity to do the right thing, and there's even more opportunity probably to do the wrong things, you know? So, and I'm sure, being involved in campus and just being a college student, there's influences or people, you know what I mean? I remember like seeing like kids before in college that they never drank alcohol before. So like that's like the mission of everybody's like get them to take a drink. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
trying to like pull that. So I guess obviously having community and having, your own group of friends is very important, but I guess here I'm basically asking you to give advice to all freshmen in America. But you know what I mean? I'm just saying like I don't know if you've experienced that where like maybe people were just trying to get you to do the wrong things or try to try to pull you in the opposite direction. And sometimes people do get pulled in that direction because we're human and that
Mhm.
does happen and that doesn't mean you can't find your way back. But I'm just saying like what are kind of things you lean on when you feel like either
Tempted.
yourself or tempted, yeah, or you see that happening to other people.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say, and it's funny because I was talking to my roommate about this yesterday, is we were talking about like the whole going out scene. And I was like, honestly, even if I wasn't a Christian, like I really don't think I would like it just because like, I don't know, the environment, I was saying how like one of my struggles is like making small talk with people I don't really know. And I was like, I feel like that's all that is sometimes. So like personally, luckily, I don't feel like I have that, like, temptation as much as, like, some other people do, and that's a very real thing.
Mhm.
But I will say, like, I especially being a freshman, like, you wanna get involved in your team or just get to know people in general, and that's, like, a really big space where you can do that. So I would go with, like, my seltzer water and just, like, talk to people, things like that, which does feel awkward, and when people like, I also think, like, people don't really care as much as you may think if you're not drinking. Like, and that's a
Mhm.
big thing of, like, I was like, "Wow, they're all gonna think, like, I'm so weird, I'm not gonna drink." But, like, if I was just like, "Oh, no, I have this drink, thank you," like, normally that was it. Like, you might have someone here and there that wants to pressure you more, but, like, it's really not that big of a deal, and the
Yeah.
right friends won't care as much as you think they will. Um, and I do have other friends here on campus who are Christians and do enjoy, like, going out and talking to people. And to that, I would just say, like, that it's, like, more of the heart posture behind it of, like, are you going to numb this or to, like the reason behind it is if that's to get to know people and you're not feeling convicted by that, then that's great, and then I believe that's a personal conviction. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm kinda word vomiting at this point. I hope that
No,
answered
you're
the question a
good.
That's
little
I think that was a great word
Go
vomit, Anna.
go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
what I was gonna say is, one, doing that will keep you from vomiting.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Better word vomit.
True.
Yeah, yeah, better word, yeah. Um, but, what I was gonna say, even if it's with a subs I think it's, like, your attitude towards it too, like, if someone comes up to you and you're just if I mean, you're already, doing the right thing, like, not caving or whatever, doing what you believe is right, but I think it's your attitude towards, for this example, maybe not drinking or not, doing whatever, and if you just say it confidently, "Oh, yeah, I'm doing this, no big deal," like, and you're just secure about it, I think,
Mm,
people can feel, a little let down and tempted even more if they're not as secure. They care way more about what other people think. I think what you're alluding to there. And, the truth is they don't really think that much. And if they do, it's more of a reflection on them and maybe even more so their insecurities of like, you know, I got to pressure you in. Anytime someone's trying to pressure you to do something, I really do think that's a lot more like insecurity on them to try to get someone else to morph so they can feel a little bit better about themselves to justify their actions and everything.
The
So,
misery loves
no, that's a great
company.
point.
Kind of
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
So,
So, but would just say like stay strong because I do think what you just hit on, is a struggle a lot of Christian athletes face on campuses all over the country. And I think it's really important for people to know they're not the only ones,
Oh,
right? That are
no.
trying to stay strong in their faith
yeah,
and everything. So um, there's my tangent.
we love it. I want to pick back up to. I want to go to like the soccer, like team,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
competition, that kind of stuff. So, so Aaron, so like obviously, joining Syracuse. I don't know how many girls are on the soccer team. To be honest with you, I'm sure it's like enough. But like, coming in, joining a big team like that, obviously a D1 school for soccer, it's competitive. So the girls are competitive, and I'm sure it's a group that wants to win and is going to work hard and all of those good things. Was there anybody when you first came in that you saw? When you came in as a freshman that maybe was kind of a mentor for you for like your faith as well that was on the team already that kind of helped you feel confident in bringing God to soccer with you?
Yeah, there was this girl named Liesel, shout out Liesel.
Okay.
She was a senior when I came in as a freshman, and she had a very strong faith as well and kind of like helped build up the FCA here, while she was here. And her and her family also go on a mission trip every summer to Guatemala. And so I kind of connected with her. Obviously the age gap like plays a role, but she was still super awesome. Got close with her and I actually went to Guatemala with them this past summer. So that was great. I think she did like so much of the like behind the scenes work to like allow Christianity to have a place here on this campus. Especially with FCA and then also just by the way she lived, she was very like welcoming and loving and just like a great example of the Lord. So that was definitely a great person to have here on campus when I first got here.
And I love what you just said at the end there too, because that is true. Like even without preaching a word at all about God, like just how she was as a human, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
kind and welcoming. Like you don't have to be preaching at everybody to show the face of God. It's just in your character and who you are. So her even not just talking the talk, but walking the walk as well,
definitely.
is awesome. That's played a part. And you want to say something about Guatemala, don't you? Because
How'd you know?
Ryan's been to Guatemala a few times too, and when you said that,
Oh
I
no
could
way.
feel him like perk up.
I was gonna ask permission to side quest for a
Go
second
ahead,
here.
yeah.
How was that? Because yeah, I went to Guatemala twice, and first just kind of want to get your thoughts and perception of like I just came back with way more gratitude than ever about everything,
Definitely.
kind of seeing everything down there. How did Guatemala shape your faith at all?
Yeah, no, it
Like,
was
what
an
did
awesome experience, and I'm so grateful I got to go. But we went to the Hogar Miguel Magone orphanage. So a lot of our time was spent there, where we were with like the little kids, and we would do like a VBS, some crafts, just play with them. But then we also spent a lot of time like doing like construction and like work around the buildings. But yeah, like you said, I think it's just a huge perspective change of like,
Mm,
these kids are so, so happy with so,
yes.
so little, and it really just, like, convicted me of, like, how I can be miserable sometimes, but then I look around and I got everything that I could possibly need, so the perspective change was huge, and then also the people that went with us were just super strong in their faith, like, I made friends for life, and I can just admire them too, so it was a really great experience overall.
Gosh. Yeah, you just kinda talking about that is bringing me back, and I just got chills and stuff thinking about, like, just the overall gratitude I remember having down there. For example, we built, like, schools down there, kinda sounds maybe
Yeah.
similar. We went to, like, a special needs orphanage, and was building schools and went on, like, community hikes with the kids and stuff, and, like,
Yeah.
literally their gratitude was just so happy. I remember going on a community hike, and their houses literally were, like, some houses were like cornstalk huts, right? Kind of slapped with mud and corn stalks. And it's just this one room, maybe 10 by 20 foot, if at all, little house with a fire in the corner and a pot. And I remember one individual, for example, he had to be in his 70s. He was like just sweeping the dirt floor. Like he had a broom and it was a dirt hardened floor and he was just like sweeping it. And I remember him asking us questions about America, like, are there mountains in America? What are the buildings like? He was asking like all these questions. I felt so humbled to answer. I felt like such like a snob, like
Yeah.
You
answering
are a snob.
answering the questions, because like he was like so happy too. Like he was just genuine and happy, smiling, so appreciative that we were helping, whatever. And very humbling how secure he was and happy he was. So we could talk that for a while, I'm sure. But I remember that transforming me for a while. And I remember getting back thinking like, I'm like, everyone in America needs to go to a third world country or like Guatemala or like something and do something for a week. Like I guarantee you we would change people's hearts and even country overnight, and just level of gratitude for the world. Like if people like were required to go on like one mission trip a year or something like that, right? I
Yeah.
think that would totally change people's like egos and just.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're getting off of sports, but wanted to talk about that because I think that's important.
Oh,
It is
definitely.
important.
Mhm.
We're definitely, it's wild over here. I'm sure you think about it too. It's like you get to play a sport you love
Yeah.
every day for
You
the
get to
next,
play
you know what I mean? It's like we get to do that kind of stuff here.
Did you
It's
play
like,
soccer with the kids at all down
ooh,
there?
We did a little bit,
Did
yeah.
you? Okay,
And they
how'd they
were
like
good.
that?
They were
Yeah.
it was
you
awesome.
didn't have to
They
take it
were
easy.
really good though. Like I was just like kind of letting them pass around me. They were awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so
That's
fun.
really cute. Yeah, they were good. I remember not being able to keep up with them at all. So that was really fun playing. So, yeah, I thought that'd be cool if you got to play with
Cool.
them.
Well, good. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you had that influence and that senior in your life. And then, you get to be that senior someday for somebody coming in on your
Yeah.
team. And I mean, you're
So
the sophomore and the junior now. I mean, you're president of FCA. So
For
people look
sure.
up to you. You're using your platform for amazing, outreach and opportunity to spread the
Yeah.
gospel. But I'm curious when it comes to it with, we talked obviously Syracuse being a big school, very secular, not necessarily based in Christianity, but you probably do have some athletes that are in their faith. Is there anything that happens on your team specifically? Like maybe a few players, maybe you guys go to FCA together or pray before games or find ways to display your faith during your games or after or anything like that you guys do?
Yeah, so there's a big group of us that will go to FCA, church, salt company, all the things. And that number has kind of like ebbed and flowed a while
Mhm.
for while I've been here, and right now it's at like one of the highest points, so that's been incredible.
Yeah.
As to games, we haven't had any like official games with this new team yet because we did have a big turnover this past year. But in the past, what we have done is we'll have a prayer circle before the game, which is always awesome, and normally a good amount of people will join that, which is great. And something that we've been trying to implement, hopefully we will this coming season, is doing a prayer circle after the game, just to kind of like bring us back centered, which we haven't done yet, but I'm hoping that we will do that
Yeah.
soon. A lot of us will write like Bible verses or something like that on our wrists. But
What's your
other
verse
than
that you write?
it depends. So I'll read my Bible before every game. Depending on what like book I'm in, if there's a verse that stands out to me, I'll do that. So it actually this past season really had depended on where I was. My go-to would probably be Ephesians, Armor of God, probably. But
Put on the
I
full
don't
armor of
have a
God.
specific one that I do every single game.
I love that though because it senses you're listening a little bit more, and having that like ongoing relationship with God, and almost it's like you're communicating with him while you're playing sports, and just like how you're feeling, maybe how you're feeling, God's talking to you that week or that day. I think that's really cool. You're not maybe just stuck on one or whatever. It's just kind of hammering it in, which is not a bad thing by any means, but it's cool the ebbs and flows of it.
Yeah.
Kind of morph in with maybe how you feel Jesus is talking to you throughout the day or week. So that's great. And
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt on the verse part.
You
But
jumped right in.
I did. I was excited to hear. But I like that put on the full armor of God verse in Ephesians. So sorry to interrupt, but
Oh,
maybe how else? So you're mentioning like prayer circles before, perhaps after the games now, writing verses on. I don't know, anyone like I don't know, wear a necklace or anything. I don't know if you have any special like jewelry or anything you wear during games.
I actually just took it off because I didn't want it to
Oh,
rust. But my roommate and I, we do
okay.
have matching cross necklaces that we wear,
Oh, cool.
things like that. But like in games, we can't wear jewelry, unfortunately. So
Oh, okay.
that
Okay.
doesn't really
Was
happen. But
You can tell a boy would ask that question, you know?
you see stuff here and there, like you see. I don't know.
Listen, I remember when I was back in my day, girls would have to, because we couldn't wear like certain things to keep the hair out of our face. That was before headbands came around, because I'm a boomer, I guess. I remember there was a girl on my basketball team that literally had to like put tape on her hair, like tape her.
oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
fun.
Listen,
It's almost a good thing social media didn't.
it didn't exist, so there's no photos of it. But I know it, 'cause I saw it.
That's hilarious.
That's
No
cool.
jewelry.
How are you seeing the faith transform your team? Even if it's just a little bit, micro transformations, right? You and your roommate, maybe for example. But are you seeing changes in your team? From consistent prayer, perhaps before the game.
Yeah, I don't know what I would say like it officially stems from, but we have 4 girls on our team getting baptized on March 1st. So
Hey,
that's a huge
all right.
praise. That's gonna be incredible. One of the girls is a girl that she came early, like she graduated high school early and came. And so this past summer when I went to like the I Am Second Summit and we learned about sharing the gospel and how important like consistent prayer is, she was one of the names that was like on my heart that I prayed for a long time. And like praise the Lord, we came back and she had like the softest heart ever and was like all in, and it's been amazing. And she's one of the ones getting baptized on March 1st. But so
Yeah.
that has been great. There's a lot of we had a lot of transfers and other freshmen come early this semester, and a lot of them have been like really involved in church and things. So I'm grateful for whatever past experience they had at their old school to bring them here to get like more involved and things like that. So I'm excited to see like how that's going to work in this coming season. But yeah, like there's definitely been some change, more people come into church, interested in the Bible studies we do, things like that. So that's been great.
I love that. It's just a great, I don't know. I feel like we just see more and more like high school and college students like coming to their faith like this and it being more open and growing. And it is fun to see.
I
We've
think
talked about it before. I mean, I know you went to FCA and everything, but when I grew up, but even in college playing sports, like we didn't do that. And I wish we did. But we all have our own journeys, I
yeah.
guess. But like I said, it's just
I
it's
think
cool to see that I wish that I had community like that in college. You know what I mean? During
right.
my experience.
Well, it's good, and the world's working great through a lot of organizations like you're mentioning, like I Am Second, right? And Young Life. Did I get that right? Young
Mhm.
Life organization. Okay, yeah. So like organizations like that, I think is really
And salt, you mentioned a salt company.
yeah.
Which
Yes.
is that like a
Yeah.
local
So
plant or is that
they're not like officially part of Syracuse right now. They're working on getting to be a part of
okay.
like the campus, but it's the church I go to on Sundays. Actually, they host Salt Company. It's on Thursday nights, and it's basically just like a church service, but it's all college age students in the area. So we'll have Syracuse students, like we have the community college near here, Lemoyne, like even kids who aren't in college but college age will come, and it's like uh worship music, a sermon, and it's great. And it's also awesome because he can like cater it to like our age, kind of like we just did a relationship series, which was super great. Because
Yeah.
we were really able to like apply it to our lives. So that has been a huge blessing. And then we'll do like what's called a C group or a city group outside of that. So it'll be like a Bible study discussion type thing outside of the Thursday nights.
That's
So
really cool.
that's been great too.
We we just pray, the Lord can work through those organizations, and
That.
the more the merrier, right? All preaching the same thing, but just from different angles,
Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
So that's really cool. Um, let's talk struggles for a second, or a few minutes if you're okay with that. Like, particularly with college athletes, for example, you mentioned there's four individuals getting baptized, praise the Lord, that's awesome. Um, and being the president of FCA too, maybe, don't just speak on behalf of the soccer team, but what do athletes usually struggle with that you see? If they come to you, do they come to you for advice? They ask these kind of questions. I mean, what do you see in these student athletes wrestling with the most, that they might come to
Yeah.
you for advice on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's gonna depend on the person, but I think a common theme could be like identity, and
Mhm.
having their identity in other things, whether that is their sport and like the success that they're having, whether it's individually or as a team, or if they're injured and kind of like losing that aspect of their lives. I think that is a huge struggle, and I don't want to like pretend that I've lived all that because I haven't really had a super serious injury that has left me out, praise the Lord, but um, I think that is probably the most common one for athletes is like putting the identity in the sport, which is so fleeting and you never like know what that's gonna lead. It's not a firm foundation. So like that can definitely be a struggle if you don't have like a perspective that's like set on like the things above.
For sure, and
100%.
it's understandably so. We understand why people can get caught up in that
Definitely.
identity crisis. Because how many hours do you spend a week practice, meetings, class, away from dedicated silent time with the Lord, right? I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
dozens of hours, maybe even a week, um, dedicated to your sport. Um, and hey, especially if you're not going to church, on Sundays, I mean, you're really kind of missing the boat a lot of ways with trying to keep that foundation centered on Christ and everything. So, which I think is all the more important for organizations like I Am Second and all that to come in and be like, look, you're going to be spending these dozen hours a week dedicated to your sport. Like, how do we bring Jesus to it? And I think that's a really great thing to do, and a constant ongoing battle that I think a lot of student athletes need to fight, and understand that they can totally worship Jesus while they play and dedicate these hours, even if it's towards like working on a bicycle kick. You could- I don't know what you practice. I don't know if you do that, but
Uh,
um,
I'm sure she can.
whatever it
Well,
is, that was first thing that came to mind. I'm like, soccer. What would you practice in soccer? Bicycle kick.
there you
Uh,
go.
Aaron's like, shut up, Ryan.
Listen,
Um,
I don't know much about soccer.
okay, but the point I'm trying to say is like dedicating those hours to the Lord, I think can go a long way, and not getting your identity just wrapped up in the stats or the injury and everything. So kind of preaching out at this point, but
Yeah,
that
sure.
is something we do see, quite a bit, and it's an easy trap. I guess I'm just trying to say it's an easy trap to fall into because of the time, right? So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yes. I do wanna say this about soccer, though, because I didn't grow up playing soccer, that wasn't something, but over the last couple seasons here, I did go talk with, for FCA, to a local high school soccer team here, and it was great because I could just talk to them about, like, character leadership, and I don't know anything about soccer, so I'm trying to make, connections and see if they hit. Some of them will give me faces like, "It's not how that works." But, like, whatever. But
Oh,
one thing that I
man.
was amazed by is this. I remember sitting there watching this girl practice, like, kicking from the corner, like, straight, like, parallel to the goal and somehow getting it to, like, curve in there, and I'm like, "How are you
Going to go.
doing
Yeah.
that? How is that
That's
happening?"
not something I can do, so
But
she's ahead of the game for sure.
gosh, that was yeah, I was just mesmerized by that. Anyways, one question I do like to ask as well, it kinda ties in with struggles too, and kind of just how we, portray ourselves as athletes on the field, and Christians on the field, because that's, we get caught up in competition, especially at a high level like the ones you're playing at. So how does you or your team, and we fall short sometimes. So if that's ever happened, be honest, that's okay. But like handling competition as far as like when the other team maybe is talking trash, taking cheap shots,
Mm,
like doing what they wanna do to just win, and you're trying to be competitive, you want to win, you're right, you're out there, you're on a mission to win that game. How do you handle or see other teammates, or maybe how your coach kind of walks you guys through how to handle some of those situations?
Yeah, well, first thing I would say is I am terrible at trash talk, so I will never try to give it back. Like, I have not really tried because I know I would be so bad at it.
Which
But
might be
when
effective because they would be like, "What?"
true, it would throw them off a little bit. Um, but when those sort of things happen, I think it's a lot like coming from coach or other teammates of just like, "Hey, play our game, like don't worry about that." And just kind of just like stay focused more so. I can't say, and maybe this is something that I should try to do next season, but I can't say I ever like share the gospel on the field. um but that would be
Something you
interesting.
the same with a Bible verse.
Yeah.
Back on
Like, hey,
field.
read this. Yeah. Um but no, I think it's more so like when you're in the game, it's just kind of like staying focused on like what we did in practice or something like that. I wish I had a better answer for that, but
No, that's okay.
I
I
don't
think that
know.
parallels to like life
Life.
in general, you know what I mean? On or off the court, people are gonna try to put things in your ear and try to get you off course
No,
all the
agreed. I
time,
think
so
it's a good
that's
faith
exactly.
test and like, um, you know, our competition in this day and age, in sports, yeah, they're brothers and sisters in Christ too. So
Mhm.
we always try to think like there's a lot of good, what we like to think anyways, a lot of good Christian athletes on the other team as well that they have the same goals, right? So it's just, hey, we can both glorify the Lord in the same way, but as long as it doesn't cross the line of malicious intent, um, or just trying to inflict serious harm rather than just play a game that you love and everything. So love that. And then so we got the soccer team, growing in faith, which is really good to see people coming to the Lord. How are you maybe seeing then, if any, it at all, the sports teams at Syracuse or maybe the soccer team? Are you seeing that spill over into non-athletes, right? I mean, because obviously the whole idea is to evangelize, right? But just curious if you are seeing non-athletes maybe take a notice that maybe they look up to you, quite a bit. Are they taking notice and leading other people to Christ, or seeing the soccer team or other athletes lead the rest of the campus towards Christ in any way, or
I
big or
mean,
small?
yeah. So through like as you can tell, like I spend a lot of times in different organizations. So for example, like Salt Company is one that like we walk in as athletes and it's like mainly just like the soccer team that's there. I mean, there's some from other schools as well, but um that's a lot of like just students there, and I think it's been really cool to see how, like, they will have their own C groups and things like that where, like, they're going out and that, like, SALT in itself is growing. So I've been able to see it in that sense, um, and then I would say, like, for me, the really only time that I see like, we have, like, kind of 2 separate campuses. It's, like, the athletic campus is over here, and then, like, classes and dorms are over here. Um,
Mhm,
so I am, like, pretty separated from that for the most part, but, like, when I'm in
mhm.
class and I have those class friends, like, there are a few that I've had conversations with, which have been good. Um, but I think the main thing that I see is just through those organizations of, like, other students telling me about other students or things like that, which that can be something that I can totally grow into of, like, trying to get it into that side as well.
Yeah, and I think too what you're doing, and yeah, like I said, there's no like right or wrong answer or whatever there, but it's just good to see kind of like the ongoing, consistent living out your faith, and I think is a great example of its own, right? Preaching the gospel at all times and only when necessary, use your words and
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
So it's an old
That's
saying.
good.
So, but uh,
Ryan made that up. He
no,
didn't.
I think
I
St.
like it.
Augustine
Maybe
said
a
that.
guy named St. Augustine, but
Yeah, back in
Oh
it was
my
like
goodness.
3rd century, so we're talking a few centuries old. But anyways,
timeless.
timeless
Yes,
principles.
there
But
you go.
um, but nonetheless, so that's obviously great. And then if you could go back to 15-year-old Anna, high school, whether
Mhm.
sophomore, freshman or sophomore in high school, what?
Nothing. I just feel like you're just throwing numbers and trying to match them to the age to the
Yeah,
grade
because
they're
that's what it
in.
is, right?
I assume so. Yeah, 15 sounds like sophomore.
Okay, whatever. sophomore in high school. Go back to. I'll keep the age out of
Mhm.
it. What would you tell Anna or yourself at as a sophomore or a current sophomore now that like loves sports, loves everything, but maybe struggling in their faith? And I don't know if you could do anything over, but what
But, like,
advice would you give?
maybe they're not the athlete they thought that they would, or they're working really hard and they just haven't, had their moment yet, or aren't what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe they're overcoming an injury, or maybe they set this goal as a 4-year-old that I wanna be the leading scorer in high school, and they're not, right? They're working at it, but they're just not. Is that kinda what you're going at? Like,
Yeah, it is. Essentially, if you had an open mic to talk to a sophomore,
let us give you 23
Aaron,
hypothetical questions.
you added in like all this.
You're right, I did add in, so go ahead, ignore me,
But if they
back
say
to me.
this and they're thinking that,
And then they're also
then they're also in chess club, so they have to balance chess
okay,
club.
okay,
Or,
cancel me, back to Ryan. Go ahead.
let's just start blank slate. All right. Um, sophomore in high school that's struggling in their faith and they're a soccer player, and knowing what you know now, what would you tell them? I think you should have
That's a
started,
great
but
question. I think I think first of all, I would kind of, because I guess with I had just experienced, like, I would kind of, like, make sure that they understand how it's a relationship and not, like the Bible is, like, the Lord speaking to us, not a set of rules necessarily. And just kind of, like, talk to them about how, like, gracious He is and how much that He loves them, not based on their success or anything with sports, but based on, like, their heart and who He created them to be. Um, and just, like, kind of remind them, like, that that's not the point of life, and that there's such a greater purpose, out there that's gonna be more fulfilling in the long run. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I think, again,
that,
just encouraging them to stay in community and then also, like, just, like, have faith in the fact that, like, even if it's trials or anything like that on earth, like, you will be rewarded eventually.
yeah. That's
I
great,
don't
and
know
I
if
think
that's a good answer, but
no, it
No,
totally is,
yeah.
and I think that kinda echoes what you were saying earlier in the podcast, of, when Jesus told, his followers, like, "You'll be persecuted, because of me," and, trials will come. I think that is important for, young high schoolers to know that not everything will be perfect, and it's easier to, like, tell them that rather than, like, show them, but, like, you just need to be, like, honest with them and just be like, "Look, there's gonna be a lot of not good stuff that will happen to you. Like, we don't know what it is gonna be example, but you're either coming out of a storm, you're in one right now, or you're heading towards one, right? So,
It's
this
encouraging.
yeah. We're gonna s I know. Thanks, Aaron, but the encouraging part is, eyes on Christ, right? So,
yeah.
um, when Peter, was walking on water, right? He was looking at Christ and had full faith in him, and the story when he takes his eyes off of Jesus and, loses faith, he drops, so I think that's
Yeah.
something good we can do as, Christian athletes. The storms will come, gotta keep our eyes on Jesus, and, easier said than done when you are in those dark moments and you're up all night just worried, you're stressed, maybe the recruiting process is going not what you want, you had an offer pulled, ending injury, you name it,
Yeah.
right? So, um, gotta keep the eyes on Christ, one day at a
Yeah, and I
time.
think, again, I would really just try to emphasize, like, how much He really loves us and just, like, how much grace there is there because at that age, I feel like you're gonna feel a lot of pressure to be perfect in different areas, but, like, it's a process, not, like, a perfect switch. Like, even if your testimony is, like, a switch like that, like, it's still gonna take a while. So I think just, like, be faithful throughout the process and don't expect it to be perfect too.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect what you said, not the process, but what you just said. So, so that's great. So, that's about the main questions that we had, we wanted to understand, like, your thought, your story, your upbringing, and then also, how sports plays a part in, your performance and everything, and how the team works with Jesus and stuff as well. So with that, wanted to see if you had anything else that you felt called to share, big or small, to athletes, or anything at all that you feel on your heart you wanted to share.
Yeah, I think I would just like echo again of like the process being the key. And I know I literally just said that, but like just like walking with Jesus throughout it all rather than like it being some like daunting task. I think if you walk with him, like eventually like things you'll start to see things come together, or you're like if you can just pray that your heart will align with his will, like there'll be more peace in that as well.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely great. Aaron, do you have any other
No,
questions?
I just before we end, I do just want to emphasize, I think it's great, like all the organizations and everything that you're a part of, and just being like an athlete, like even when you're playing in your games now, that there's young kids out there watching you, that we're inspiring people, even if when we're not like maybe making it an intention that this is what we're going to go do. And so I think that's just really important. And I'm grateful that there are these collegiate athletes that are displaying their faith more so and setting kind of a better example for younger kids. So I think that's amazing. And I think too, just what we were talking about, like just talking with younger kids is, because you've been in all of these organizations, you've met a lot of athletes that all have different stories. And I don't think that happens by accident. And I think you learn these stories because along life, you're going to be able to share, if not your story, someone else's, or connect them to somebody that maybe is going through something similar. So that's why I think that community is so important for multiple reasons, but even in examples like that, if we can't relate to something, like I can think of 100 other athletes I know that maybe have gone through something similar and can kind of provide perspective as well. So
Mhm.
Well, that's a
that's all
great
I was
point.
like holding back while you going. I think this is great. I'm so grateful for you, Anna. I love even I feel like connecting with you just via like social media. To be honest with you, sometimes I don't even know how things happen or people come across in my feed, but you just get good feelings about somebody. And so I'm grateful, to be able to connect with you and be able to have you on our podcast and share your story with other athletes as well. I know that you're doing that in various, like I said, various platforms and various groups. So I know we're grateful and honored that you took time to be on with us today. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure. And yeah, you got some bright days ahead, and obviously the Lord's using you in some amazing ways right now. Not only in FCA, but also as getting plugged into all these other groups too, and adding, shining your light in all these other groups and influencing all that. And I think that shows a lot of selflessness, which is really great to see. And that servant leadership, that you're in the weeds, you're in the trenches, not for selfish reasons, but you want to one, save your soul, but also help others help others in the process as well. Um yeah, we'll just bring this in for landing with a quick prayer, if you're all right with that. So
Sounds good.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All right. All right, God, thank you for this amazing day, and thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the opportunity to live, love, grow, give, and serve our gifts for the greater good of this world. Please help us be all we were created to be. Help us be holy. Help us be saints. Lord Jesus, send your spirit upon Anna, and please bless her as she embarks on her soccer career with Syracuse. Please bless her, fill her with strength, fill her with your spirit, so she can be a shining light, not only for her close people she encounters with in the dorm, but for her soccer team as well, that she may continue to spark a fire in other people, help lead them to you, and and all these other organizations she's plugged into, help her spark a fire and um, uh, uh, shine her light and make that fire burn bigger and bigger across Syracuse's campus. And we pray especially for those souls being baptized. In the coming weeks here, we pray more and more people come to be baptized, especially on the Syracuse campus, that you may be glorified and everything can be done in your name. All right. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, Anna. All right. Well, thank you so much again for carving out some time. We know it's never easy to find time on a D1 athlete's schedule, right? The demands of everything, school, sports, workouts. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Eternal Athletes podcast. Anna Croyle here of Syracuse Soccer. All right, have a great day, everyone.